Hi guys, today I wanted to talk about modeling data in DESMOS when we are dealing with this. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to represent a given set of data in DESMOS using an appropriate window and label for axes. So a lot of times when we're graphing data, it may be easier to graph it in DESMOS and quicker than by graphing it by hand. So that's what I want to show you and review with you today. So remember, our input is going to go on our horizontal axis. So our input's going to go down here, and our output is going to go up here on the vertical axis. And that's just because this is our independent variable and this is our dependent variable. And so we always graph them like those. Now, when we are doing this, we also want to remember we have 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is positive, positive. Quadrant 2 is negative, positive. Quadrant 3 is negative, negative. And quadrant 4 is positive, negative. For our class, we're going to use the DESMOS calculator, the graphing one specifically, to visually represent our data. We want to have our data in a table. It can sometimes be hard to recognize the patterns if we're graphing by hand. So if we put it in DESMOS, it gives us a better picture. So let's talk about those steps for that. On our DESMOS, we're going to use plus table, and then we're going to put in each value hitting enter afterwards. Once we have all our data in, we're going to hit the blue magnifying glass, which is in this stripe down here. We then hit the wrench tool that's up in the top right and input the label axes, and we can insert any steps that we need to do as well. So what does this look like? If we have this table right here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. If we go into DESMOS, we're going to do plus table, and we're going to put in our data. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hitting enter after each one. And then our miles we had were 0, 3, 6, 9, and 12. Now, once I have my data in, I'm going to hit the magnifying glass right here. So we zoom to see it. And then I'm going to hit the wrench right here. And I'm going to put my labels in. So my X was my days in my program. And my Y was my miles run. I can hit this magnifying glass right here to make it a little bit bigger if I wanted to, but I don't have to. And then I can also remove the minor grids if I wanted to. In this case, I don't really want to because they give me a better picture. Once I have this, I can always take a screenshot of my work and put it on my assignment if needed. Notice that I'm showing both my X and my Y axes labeled, as well as a good window that distinguishes these. Notice over here we have this regression line. We're going to use this later in the semester, which is why we need to make sure we're using the DESMOS graphing calculator and not the DESMOS scientific calculator, because it will not graph for us. So, doing our next example. In this case, identifying the independent and the dependent. Well, our week is going to determine our total miles. So when we plug this into our DESMOS, we're going to clear everything out first by hitting delete all. And when I delete all, that gets rid of my labels as well. So that is what we want. We're going to go to plus table, and we're going to put in our data, hitting enter after each one, all the way to 9. And then I had 22, 46, 72, 96, 124, 151, 181, 211, and 244. Once I've done that, I'm going to hit the magnifying glass so that it zooms. And sometimes I have to hit the magnifying glass more than once. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go to the wrench. And on my label, my X was my weeks. My Y was my total miles. Once I've got that in there, I would take a screenshot and I would put it on my slide deck. So again, I just take a screenshot and I put it on my slide deck. My screenshot captures all of my work there, and then I put it right there. That's what you would do on any assignment. So doing the same thing on the next one, we have hours after midnight as our independent and temperature as our dependent, our Y. So again, I hit the cog button and delete all so it clears everything out. Then I do plus table and I put in my X's first, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I put in my Y's, 7, 5, 3, 0, -1, -4, -5, -2, and 2. I hit my magnifying glass, and then I hit my wrench. I'm going to label my x-axis as hours after midnight, and I'm going to put my y-axis as my temperature. I would then take my screenshot that shows my data and my labels, and I would insert that on my assignment, just like I did here. So doing this last example where we're graphing our data, we're going to put our DESMOS in. So we're going to hit the cog and delete all. We do plus table. This time we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And our Y values, we have 0.6, -0.2, -1.2, 1.2, 0.8, 1, and -0.6. I then hit my magnifying glass and I hit my wrench. For my X's, I had my years since 2000. And for my Y, I had the profit in millions. And that is all I'm going to do. Now that I have that, I'm going to take my screenshot showing my labels and my data, and I'm going to put that on my assignment. And that's all I need to do there. Now, the other thing that we can do in DESMOS to help us out is to convert things from an equation to a table. So when we are converting them, we're going to type our equation in, click the cog button like we did before to delete everything out, and hit the create table, change our X values to the appropriate values, and write down the corresponding Y values. So in this case, they've given me this equation, g of x equals x squared. So when I type this in, I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to type g of x equals x squared. I'm going to hit the cog and convert it to a table. They wanted me to start at 3 for my independent variable and have an increment of 2. So I'm going to add 2 each time. So 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, 7 plus 2 is 9, and that fills out my table. So these are my values right here, and if I hit the magnifying glass, I can see them graphed on my data as well. This would be my screenshot that I would upload. I can also upload the visual picture if I want both visual and the table. And I just put that on my assignment. So on this next one, it says h of x equals 1 over x. So we're going to delete everything again. We have h of x equals 1 over x. We're going to convert it to a table. And it asked me to start at 10 and have an increment of 10. So 10, 20, 30, and 40 fills out my table. And notice when I do those, I'm going to hit my magnifying glass and notice it is going down. So we have a decreasing interval here. So I can kind of both visually and algebraically see it with my table and my graph. I take my screenshot and then I upload it as is. So that's how you graph in DESMOS as well as how you convert to a table in DESMOS. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out during student support or schedule a one-on-one. If not, you can move on to your next assignment.